Good evening, and thanks as always for joining us here on the Speed Racing Network. Got some Truck Series action for you tonight. I'm Greg Olenek, as always, joined by Brandon Domain. Brandon, are you excited for some Auto Club action here?
Absolutely. Got 4 or 5 lanes of racing that we can see. I think we're going to be seeing at least 3 wide pretty often here in this one. Middle race of the opening round, so a whole lot of guys trying to set themselves up for that cutoff race before we knock out 6 of the drivers and get it down to 10. But how are you feeling about this race tonight?
I think it's going to be a great show. It's a 2-mile track here out in Fontana, and it always bodes for some great racing. It'll be a little bit spread out too, so maybe we'll get a good green flag run or two in for this evening's show. But, forget the World Series. We got race number 2 of round of 15 action here in the Truck Series for the Golden State 130 here at Auto Club. 65 laps and 1 faster pair as always.
Well, I'm down in the Atlanta area now, so I think there's a whole lot of people I know that are going to have a hard time forgetting the World Series. But, yeah, we've got 65 laps, 1 faster pair, as you said, and we saw that come in handy at Michigan, a very similar track that we had a couple weeks ago that had 5 cautions in that race that lasted about 15 laps. A lot of drivers had to go through that faster pair pretty early because we had 3 quick cautions there in the first 20 laps or so.
Yeah, so we'll see just how clean of a race it is for these guys tonight, and if they'll be using up those faster pairs. I know it was a great race last week at Kentucky for the first race. They are a week behind here in the Truck Series, so they're in race number 2 of the round of 15. So let's see what we got here. Let's go ahead and check out the league details. As always, 20-week fixed setup league. Like we already mentioned, they have 1 faster pair. These guys are paying $5 a week to get in on the weekly and season payouts. The champion going to come away with $300, and 5-person teams, they're racing for a $100 team championship prize as well.
Yeah, and that team championship, that bracket, it's really interesting in its own right, and I know we'll talk about that here in a bit, but we're doing that traditional team-style format, going from 8 teams down to 4 and then down to the championship 2 when we get to Atlanta to determine who's going to walk away with that $100. So we got all kinds of stuff going on here as we work our way through the playoffs.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and see what these guys are racing for here tonight on the Healthcare Billing Incorporated pre-race show. First place is going to come away with $15. Second place is going to get $10. Third through fifth going to get that $5 entry fee back in their pockets. So, like we always mention, it starts to add up if you're finishing in these top 5 spots, Brandon.
Certainly does, and there's a lot of guys that have taken advantage of that here this season, not just putting away a couple wins, but getting a lot of top 5s over the course of the season. And I know that once we get to the individual point standings, it'll kind of be a little bit apparent who those guys are, and we go through those driver breakdowns on everybody. But there's been a few guys that have really pocketed some solid money here on the side with just the $5 a week entry fee.
Yeah, so that's what they're racing for on a weekly basis. Let's go ahead now and talk about what these guys are racing for on the season here. We already mentioned that first place champion is going to come away with $300, but let's go ahead and cover the rest of our payouts here this season. Second going to get $150. Third going to come away with $90. Fourth getting $60, and if you make that final race in Atlanta, you're guaranteed at least a $40 payout. Sixth place is going to get $30. Seventh going to get $20, and eighth place going to come home with $10 in their pocket.
And honestly, you're thinking about it. If you get by these next 2 races, get into that round of 10, you got 80% odds to walk away with money at the end of the season. Something new that we didn't quite have last season, where it was only the top 5 getting paid out. Kind of spreading that out to another 3 drivers, give the group that gets eliminated in that second round something to really push for, aside from the team side of things when it comes down to that championship race in Atlanta.
Yeah, it was a good effort by SRN this year to try to keep that car count up throughout the season, so it gives those guys a little extra incentive, like you said, to race in that last race in Atlanta if they don't make the final 5. But let's go ahead and move on now here in the Healthcare Billing Incorporated pre-race show, and that's going to be our Beer of the Week segment brought to us by the Beer Street Journal.
This week's Beer Street Journal Beer of the Week is out of Orpheus Brewing in Georgia. Back around Memorial Day, Orpheus Brewing released 7 new beers to honor their 7th anniversary. But instead of sitting around and twiddling their thumbs, they came up with another beer called Do or Die Oatmeal Cream Stout. The brewmasters said, "We love making stouts and wanted to brew one that you can have pints of instead of tasters." In order to do that, they used a select mix of hops and malts that will give you the taste of chocolate, caramel, and toffee while having the aroma of coffee. It's an incredibly delicious blend that will have you coming back for seconds. So check out Orpheus Brewing's Do or Die Oatmeal Cream Stout. Go to BeerStreetJournal.com for more information. The Beer of the Week is brought to you by BeerStreetJournal.com, the leading online publication for craft beer reviews. Go to BeerStreetJournal.com to find your next great beer. And as always, you must be 21 to enjoy, and please drink responsibly.
Well, thanks as always to Beer Street Journal for this week's Beer of the Week. If you want to learn more about the Oatmeal Cream Stout from Orpheus Brewing, go ahead and check it out on BeerStreetJournal.com. And Brandon, it's that season where we're starting to get into the darker and darker beers, and this one, you can see them pouring it out, looks pretty dark.
Yeah, that is a dark and a heavy one for sure right there. Definitely an interesting one. My mind went to the Little Debbie, oatmeal cream pie kind of thing, but definitely not going that route with it, even despite the name, but still sounds very interesting. This would be something I would like to keep an eye out on, so thanks to Beer Street Journal for bringing this one out there.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to check it out. I do like my porters and stouts when it gets to the colder months of the year, so definitely going to check it out from Orpheus Brewing, Do or Die. So please go learn more about it on BeerStreetJournal.com. But taking a look now at the team championship standings here, and as we mentioned all year leading up to this point, it is a different style here in SRN Season 2. It's going to be a playoff bracket style, and you see it right on your screen right now. Jonathan Byer Racing is our number 1 seed going up against Bobby Anderson Racing, and quite a close battle there for a 1-8. That's a 93-62 gap right there. And then you got Rev Racing up against Stryker Motorsports, an even closer gap of 15 points. Next Level doing pretty well over the do-gooders there in the 3-6 combo. And then Zuyost and Tank Racing are 4-5, a virtual tie on the standing sheet right now.
And obviously your eyes are going to go to that 4-5 battle, and I don't think that's much of a surprise. They were pretty evenly matched over the course of the season, and all that's going to take, though, in any of these contests, I would say maybe aside from that 3-6, might be a little bit more needed there to make up that gap for the do-gooders. But, I mean, you're just looking at one driver having a really good day and one driver having a really bad day on the other team, and you're right back in this thing on any of those three contests. Even I would say that 3-6, too. There's going to be a little bit more help needed for the do-gooders, but that is totally something that they can make up over the next two races.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen in these races, and we only score 3 people at a time, so if a few guys go out, that's going to help you bridge that gap. But taking a closer look now at the Jonathan Byer Racing, the Bobby Anderson Racing 1-8 matchup here, like we said, a 31-point lead for Jonathan Byer Racing, and Jonathan Byer himself being the highest finisher out of all these drivers, coming home in third last week, scoring 39 points. And Bobby Anderson is going to be the top scoring driver for Bobby Anderson Racing. So the 2 named drivers on the team coming home in the top 10 last week.
Yeah, solid leadership from both those guys there with their teams. But you really look at that, the rest of the drivers that were there, nobody really had a big misstep in those scoring positions. You had Jack Johnson with a 13th, James Kerr with an 18th, and Jason Kratke with a 12th place finish. So all really solid finishes. The only difference here in this matchup is that Bobby Anderson Racing only had 2 that were scored last week out of their full roster of 3, and that's going to be the handicap that they have this entire time, is they can't have anybody either miss or have a bad week, or else they're really going to be hurting.
Yeah, if their third driver, Michael Amenti, was in attendance last week, it would be a much closer battle between the 1 versus 8 right now. So something to pay attention to as these weeks roll on here in the first round. But moving on, let's go ahead and check out the 2 versus 7 matchup. That's going to be Rev Racing against Stryker Motorsports. And a slimmer margin here for Rev Racing, only a 15-point gap over Stryker Motorsports. Lucas Lyons coming home runner-up last week, bringing home 41 points for his team. Kevin Winker coming home in 8th, bringing 34 points home for Stryker Motorsports.
Yeah, and this matchup really was defined by the damage control that was behind those high-scoring drivers. You see Michael Madden with a 21st place finish, Sean Kozier a 22nd, and then you have Don Milkowitz with a 15th and Matt Johnson with a 33rd. So it's really, as far as last week went, just came down to, all right, every one of those 4 drivers had something happen at some point in the race. Who responded to it the best? And that's where we're getting that kind of slim margin, was nobody really set themselves clear out of that mid-pack for the drivers that weren't Kevin Winker or Lucas Lyons, who obviously had a great night there. So real interesting. This one is going to be really just up in the air and a coin flip, I think, going forward.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it looks after the race here tonight at Auto Club. Moving on now to the 3 versus 6 matchup. That's going to be Next Level Motorsports up against the Do-Gooders. Pretty big gap here for the Do-Gooders to cover. I mean, you're looking at, 70... I'm trying to do the math in my head right now. 72-point lead over the Do-Gooders. So really going to need some help out there, and a bad day or two for the Next Level Motorsports guys. But Brad Herman bringing home the win last week. Then Stankar Nathan coming home in 5th, his best finish on the season. And then Techmeyer bringing home the 7th. I mean, you can't really do much better than that for Next Level.
Yeah, and I think the hope for the Do-Gooders obviously is, improving on their finishes from last week. But as far as the other side of that goes, I think they're hoping that the Next Level finishes with that 5th and that 7th. Those are 2 guys that were racing for the playoff lucky dog. So they were really, really going after it last week. And I think that their hope for the Do-Gooders is that they're going to be kind of like, all right, we didn't get that playoff lucky dog, kind of settling back in a little bit, not going with the aggressive strategies that we saw from them that kind of boosted them up a little bit more in the placings. So I think that's the hope if you're the Do-Gooders, but they're going to need a good amount of help to make up that gap here early.
Yeah, we'll see if they're able to close in on Next Level Motorsports after this second race in the playoffs. But now moving on to the 4-5 matchup, the one that is razor thin between the 4 seed of Zuyos Racing and the 5 seed of Tank Racing. Just a 1-point advantage over the 5 seed. And that's simply because, Jacob Zala bringing home a 6th last week, Mueller bringing home an 11th, and Amston bringing home a 16th. When you add everything up on both sides, that's what you get.
Yeah, unbelievably tight racing here between these 2 teams, and that was something that we expected, I think, at the start of this. And you're looking at a couple of playoff guys on each team here that have been really building some momentum as you look at Fuge and Holloman and Zala, all guys that have run very well, especially the past few weeks. I think Bruce Amston really stepped up last week. He was in that playoff lucky dog battle as well, taking home that 16th place finish. Rob Yost kind of sitting there in that 20th place, been a bit of a rough sledding for him these past few weeks. I think if he gets that momentum back by, that might be the edge that Zuyos is looking for. But this is going to be a really close one the next 2 weeks still.
Well, that's going to do it for our team championship playoffs right now for the quarterfinals after one race. But now let's take a look at the playoff standings themselves. And the top 10 going to advance out of this list after 3 races. So race number 2 tonight, Jonathan Byer still sitting atop with Brad Herman sitting there in second now. Lucas Lyons rounding out our top 3.
And my eye kind of goes more towards the bottom of that green list, where you're looking at 4 guys that are 4 points away or fewer from being knocked out of that top 10. You got Michael Madden sitting there, Sean Jensick, Josh Mueller, and Jack Johnson tied for that 10th position right now. So if it ended right now, we would have 11 drivers advancing as ties both advance if they're sitting there inside that cut line. But the big surprise, I think, is you're looking at 3 very strong drivers just outside that just had a bit of a rough run. And you got Kyle Wimble there, Landon Cardulo, one of our point leaders at the end of the regular season, sitting on the outside, and Michael York has had a lot of momentum, got in on that last race, making it naturally into that top 15, and he's sitting there 10 points out. So there's some guys out there that they need to get a run going, because there's those top 11 drivers right now all have some good momentum to go in their way.
And a few guys with wins sitting just a few points above the cut line. So a lot to pay attention to tonight here for the Golden State 130. But moving on here in the driver intros, we'll start with the 66 of Jonathan Byer, our current standings points leader out of Texas. 2 wins this season, average start of 14th, an average finish of 6th, and he's got 20 bonus points helping him out currently. So he has a good cushion between him and the cut line, but can't afford a bad race tonight to get him close to that cut line.
Another one that's in a similar position after that win last week, a second of the season, is Brad Herman. And you look at that, all the momentum in his way after that win, but still just 24 points clear of that cut line. Does have an average finish of 9th, and if you just do the math, you keep getting top 10s, you're probably going to advance. So based on what he's done this season, looks like a solid spot, but still 2 races left to advance to the next round.
All right, moving on to the third driver in our standings. That's going to be the 7 of Lucas Lyons out of Rev Racing. Racing out of Kentucky. Hasn't gotten that first win on the year, but a few second-place finishes under his belt. Average start of 11th, average finish 16th, starting with 11 bonus points, and he is 20 points above that cut line. So another good cushion sitting in the top 3.
Fourth place, 17 points ahead of that cut line, is going to be Jacob Zala. Does have that win earlier this season and racing out of Indiana. Does have a bit of that up and down kind of streaky go of it, though, with that average finish of 17th, but he's still way up there in points because when he's on, he is really on and definitely a winning threat, if not a podium threat. It's just going to be kind of handling that damage control on those races where there's been some struggle. That's the thing he's got to look out for here in the playoffs.
All right, our 5th place driver is our playoff lucky dog who raced his way into the field of 16. He is 15 points above the cutoff line, racing out of Zuyos Racing. From nearby me here in Charlotte, best finish 2nd on the season, average start 16th, average finish of 19th. So Dave Hughes Jr., one to keep an eye on as he raced his way in last week, sitting in the top 5 already.
And his teammate's going to be just behind him. And this is where we're starting to get to that point where you got to be a little nervous in the points. Just 12 points clear for Blair Holloman, who picked up the win just a few weeks ago. Average finish of 12th, which is a solid position here, really. If he can continue to break runs like that. He did enter with only 6 bonus points, so he did come in a little bit short-handed in the points. Made a good run last week, but he's going to have to be careful these next 2 weeks.
Sitting 7 points above the cut line will be 7th place, Bobby Anderson, racing out of Bobby Anderson Racing from Oklahoma. Best finish of the season is a 7th, so a lot of 7s here. Average start of 12th, average finish of 18th, and starting with 7 bonus points. So that's a lucky number to have on Bobby Anderson's side, I'm just going to say.
Yeah, and one right behind, and we're going with the number 8 here, and that's going to be for Michael Madden, entering in the 8th position, just 4 points ahead of the cut line, but looking really good on the speed chart here thus far in qualifying. This one's a bit of a surprise, though, because we've still been kind of waiting for that dominant Michael Madden that we saw all last season that really carried him all the way through that championship race. Just been kind of just one step behind from that pace last season, but if he gets that momentum going, he will be very, very dangerous the rest of the way.
Well, another surprising driver sitting just 2 points above the cut line is going to be a 3-time winner on the season, Sean Jensick out of Rev Racing. Average start of 9th, average finish 9th, so really good stats there. Started with 17 bonus points, but found him in some trouble last week at Kentucky, which puts him 2 points ahead of our cutoff line here in SRN's playoffs for the Truck Series. So Sean Jensick, our winningest driver, going to have some work to do here.
I did have the win in Michigan, though I didn't know that New Jersey and Rhode Island had a feud. That's something new I learned there in that graphic. But 10th place, tied for 10th, 1 point above the cut line, is a local track champion, Josh Mueller. Does have a best finish here in SRN this season of 4th, but he's just one of those guys that consistently sits there in that top 10, but he's in that perilous position, just 1 point good. He's going to have to put something together here in these next couple weeks.
And tied for that cutoff spot is going to be Jack Johnson, the 35 out of Jonathan Bayer Racing. A best finish of 2nd on the season, so he's run really well, even though the average start of 21st is there and the average finish of 15th, so definitely improving on his starting positions. Jack Johnson looks to improve on that cutoff line and maybe move up the standings here tonight.
Well, staying inside the team, it's just 1 point out for 12th place Kyle Wimble. Had a bit of a rough go of it late in that race in Kentucky last week, but you see it there, best finish of 3rd, definitely capable of being a podium contender here any week, and he's going to need to get that kind of a run going here starting tonight at Auto Club, a track he's pretty good at, and I expect to see him try to make that move to get back up into those top 10 positions, just sitting 1 point shy currently.
Well, sitting 13th, another one of his teammates, going to be Landon Cardulo. 1 win on the season, average start and finish both inside the top 10. He's going to be looking to really have a clean run here tonight, run in the top 5 to move his way back inside the green.
14th place is going to be Michael York. He comes in 10 points out, and he's one of those clutch guys. We saw that best finish a third. That happened pretty late into the season. In fact, it was that last regular season race that moved him into the playoffs on points alone. So he's going to need to get that clutch mentality back here in these next couple weeks to make up that 10-point gap.
And also tied for 14th is going to be Joseph Dupont out of the Do-Gooders. Best finish on the season, coming home in 6th. 19th place start position average, 16th average finish. Joseph Dupont got some work to do, sitting 10 points outside the cut.
And bringing up the rear of the field right now is going to be Mike Mosby. He enters this one 19 points behind the cut line, something that can definitely be made up in one race. His benefit is he's got 2 to do it, and he's going to need to start that good push for those points being made up here tonight.
Well, that's going to do it for our Healthcare Billing Incorporated pre-race show. Let's get out there to Auto Club Speedway for the Golden State 1:30, and here we see our starting lineup for tonight. Landon Cardulo coming home with the pole here in Fontana convincingly as well, sitting a 10th over Dave Hughes Jr. there in 2nd. Jacob Zala going to start in 3rd, and Michael Madden going to be in 4th.
In row number 3, we're going to have Bobby Anderson out of Bobby Anderson Racing. And then we're going to have our first non-playoff driver. It's going to be A.J. Pritchett on the outside of row 3, starting in the 6th spot. Mike Mosby needing to make up a lot of points here in these next couple races. He'll start in 7th. Then another non-playoff driver, Bruce Amston in the 63 for Tank Racing, will be starting in 8th.
Yeah, Matt Johnson going to be in 9th place. Kyle Wimble starting in 10th place, looking to have a good run there. You see his number in yellow, meaning he's outside the top 10. Bradley Rivers going to be in 11th, and Cody Riggs in the 12, starting in 12th place. So that is going to be our top 12 for tonight's truck race here at Auto Club. Quite the field on hand, as I believe we have 30-plus drivers out there tonight. So, Brandon, I always give you the first pick in this race. Who are you taking to bring home the checker flag tonight?
Well, we saw a surprise with a whole lot of non-green numbers that indicate that they're in the top 10 in the playoffs here, in the top 12 on the starting grid. And one of those numbers in yellow is actually our pole sitter, Landon Cardulo. And I feel like this is a bit of a cop-out, seeing how fast he was getting the pole. I was thinking this one before qualifying happened, but led the most laps at Michigan a couple weeks ago. Had a rough go of it last week in Kentucky. Got caught where he fell all the way from 2nd in points down outside of the top 10. I think he's due for a big night, so I'm going to go with that 13.
You took my pick, but that is one that you just can't turn down. I think he's going to be driven to really bring it home tonight. You see the Ghirardelli chocolate sponsor on the side. Love this truck as it's got the melting chocolate on the side. Glad to see it out front here tonight. Landon Cardulo, great pick. But I think I'm going to go ahead, switch it up a little bit, and go to the truck just behind him and take Jacob Zala. Going to bring home his 2nd win on the season. He's sitting inside the top 10 as it stands, well above the cut line. So not much pressure on this 25. I think he's going to be up here racing with these guys and really trying to help Tank out in that 4-5 battle against Zuyost Racing.
Yeah, maybe not as delicious looking of a truck, but still very clean and very fast as well. That's another pick that you cannot go wrong with, I do not believe, as we get ready to get going here. 65 laps in California.
Yep, so as always, you can tell these playoff drivers by the banners on the windshield. They're blue. They got the blue spoilers. That is going to help the field understand who is actually racing for that playoff championship here in Fontana. So keep an eye out for that. Pace car is off the track. We have 65 laps of action here in Fontana for you guys tonight. Landon Cardulo going to take it away under green here for the Golden State 1:30. Landon Cardulo gets out, but Dave Hughes Jr. not letting him get away. We're going to have a battle here heading down into turn 1.
A real good race into turn one, and Cardulo going to get enough of a push to get clear of Dave Fuge Jr. in that 16, and the inside line going to have a bit more speed early on, but as this run progresses, the tires start to warm up, the outside's going to have a lot of speed, and we got big trouble on the backstretch. Caution already out.
Yeah, big crash happening right now. There is about 10 trucks still wrecking here. Bobby Anderson, Cody Riggs, AJ Pritchett, I'm seeing Dave Fuge Jr. So this was up towards the front part of the middle of the pack. A lot of fast trucks involved in this one here.
Yeah, I mean, we were seeing Dave Fuge Jr. in the third or fourth position going out of turn one, and he's caught up in this. AJ Pritchett was sixth, so this obviously started up near the front. We'll take a look at our Beer Street Journal rec replay very early in this one. We got 3 wide coming out of turn two. And it looked like Dave Fuge was trying to give some space there to the 15 of Michael Madden, and when he did, just got loose and came straight down to the inside, and then carnage ensued in a big way after he made contact with Bobby Anderson, and then everybody behind them was just running into a brick wall.
Another big name to note here, saw the 29 of Sean Jensick also involved, and that's one of those drivers sitting 2-3 points above the cut line, not needing this very early on in the race, so it's going to get a little more tense in that 29 camp. But you know, same case for a lot of these guys. Dave Fuge Jr. going to have to spend his fast repair to get his truck fixed. Bobby Anderson, some big damage on this 18. That was a really bad net code as well. There was a good 2 feet between those two trucks.
Yeah, there was a chance that they might have saved that if that netcode didn't happen, but that was a pretty aggressive turn down. I'm assuming that Fuge got loose when he came up here, tried to get away. Yeah, you can see how loose he got. They might have gotten away with that if that netcode didn't happen, but that is that's a tough break for a lot of guys early that are going to have to burn that fast repair on lap 1.
Yeah, so mainly just seeing the guys with damage come down pit road this time by, but yeah, not what we wanted to see early on in this race. An early caution here in the Golden State 130. Landon Cardulo still our leader. That moves Jacob Zala up to second, but that guy that you mentioned, 2 guys really that you mentioned needing a good run, Mike Mosby and Kyle Wimble sitting there in third and fourth.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at that top 10, and there's only 3 drivers with their name in green, or their number in green, that are showing that they're in the top 10 in points. So we're seeing a big diversification here of the field, and we're seeing 5 of the 6 drivers that are, or actually all 5 of the drivers, I should say, that are outside of the cut entering this race are all in the top 7 now, as we got that tie for 11th, or 10th and 11th. So 12th through 16th in points, all sitting in the top 7 right now.
Yeah, we'll see if that sticks here throughout the race, but it is an awfully yellow left pylon on your screen right now, and I'm sure that's what a lot of these guys want to see with a little bit of red mixed in. So just to give you guys an update, as we had last week, green means you are inside the cut line, yellow meaning you're outside, and red just not in the playoffs at all. So, you know, seeing only 3 green guys in the top 10, that's going to be definitely welcome for those guys sitting outside the top 10.
And it's just going to make next week even more interesting. And for the trucks, a cutoff race is at Indianapolis. That is going to be wild, seeing how the difficult track already is going to be when it's the cutoff race that's going to eliminate 6 drivers, from contention in the playoffs going forward. So that's going to be absolutely crazy. And one thing I do want to note, you're seeing a couple green numbers there on the left side right now in the bottom 6 in positions. One of those being Lucas Lyons, who we just saw come off pit road. There he is. He's running in the 34th position. So one of those drivers inside the top 11 entering tonight that is sitting in a really rough position right now.
Yeah, and a lap down now, as you see. He did not beat the pace car out, sitting 3 laps down. So going to have a lot of work to do to get back on the lead lap with these guys. Otherwise, we might be seeing the 7 fall outside that top 10 heading into Indy next week. So a lot of action happening early on here in the Golden State 130, and we'll see how it works itself out. But right now, the guy out in front with the clean track ahead of him, Landon Cardulo, sees those pace car lights are off. He's getting ready to go back and get into the action here in Fontana. Jacob Zala just to his outside. So we have quite a race on hand here We'll see if Landon Cardulo able to, kind of pull away with this thing, as he laid down quite a qualifying lap, beating the rest of the field by at least a tenth of a second. So Landon Cardulo showing that he has the speed here tonight. Pace car is off, though, and we'll see if he gets a little bit of a better restart here. We're green again at Auto Club.
Much, much better jump here for the 13 truck. He's going to pull away by about 3 truck lengths over Mike Mosby, who's going to be in the second position. As he's side by side, they're looking at 3 wide possibly, and it's Mosby on the inside, Zala in the middle, Wimble on the outside. Mosby's going to get clear. They're going to file it back down to 2x2.
Really close there between Zala and Mosby. So good for those guys to keep off of one another. We just saw a wreck there not too long ago as we head 3 wide down into turn 3. Michael York trying to make a move to the inside of Mike Mosby, but Zala going to have the speed up top in that 25. It's going to be a drag race to the start-finish line here.
That's a real uncomfortable position. Those tires aren't really warmed up that much at this point. They did have that one sequence of turns that they could try to warm them up, but that grip is still going to be pretty low. I think right about now you're going to start seeing these trucks can be a little bit more aggressive through these turns, and 3 wide probably going to be a little bit better of an option. But as I say that, a little bit of a push up the track for Mosby, nearly getting into Jacob Zala on the outside. They're both going to make it work, though.
Yeah, Kyle Wimble looks like he just got into the wall right there. Exiting too, so still able to keep the speed up as he's side by side with Mike Mosby now. Jacob Zala able to clear the 99, but then they go 3 wide just behind them with Blair Hallman, Brad Herman, and Michael York.
And one guy that does not mind seeing this at all is about almost a second ahead of them, and that's Landon Cardulo, who's checking out early. He's got the fastest truck by a mile that we saw in qualifying, but at the same time, you start getting that side-by-side racing, you can't be as aggressive going through those turns. You're going to be scrubbing off that speed. So side-by-side racing, just giving that 13 even more of an advantage right now.
Yeah, big advantage being out front, able to just drive very smoothly right now while these guys are out here mixing it up amongst one another and really starting to heat up those tires. So we'll see how that, works itself out as the run goes on here, see if Landon is able to continually pull away from the field. But, man, Kyle Wimble really getting all of it he can out of that truck as he loses another position to Brad Herman here. Now Kyle Wimble sitting back in 5th, Brad Herman up to 4th. So the 85 trying to make his way up through the field.
And they're going to go back side by side in that race for 4th as they work their way through 1 and 2. Wimble going to take the inside, but that outside line just gets so much momentum. If you get a good entry, it's nearly impossible to stop that charge on the outside, especially in these trucks with the way that the momentum builds and they handle through the turns. But we're starting to see the field reel Landon Cardulo back in as they start going single file. The draft has a pretty significant effect around this track. So single file, if you get a few trucks together, they're going to reel in whoever is out in front if they pull away too far.
Yeah, with how big this track is and how long these straightaways are, you're just sitting in that draft for so long, you really are able to pull up behind that truck in front of you, and that's what we're seeing right now is Jacob Zala only a quarter of a second back of Landon Cardulo, and the rest of the field really starting to sort itself out too and catch back up to this 13. So we'll see if he's able to hold off these guys that are really catching up to him as Zala getting ever closer, sitting just 0.2 of a second back now. We'll see if we have a race for the lead here shortly.
And one thing I'll also point out, it's not the longest of fuel runs here. You're looking at 25 to 30 laps, depending on how aggressive you are. We had that quick caution already, so I think that's going to add a couple of laps. But the bigger thing's going to be tires. It's not a huge factor here, but it is something you can easily abuse those tires. This track is pretty slick, especially compared to Michigan, which I think does give you a little bit more grip. So you do slide it around a little bit, especially early. You can wear out those tires just enough that those last 10 laps or so in a run, you could be at a pretty significant disadvantage.
Yeah, and with how wide this track is, it's very welcoming to really just send the truck in there and also burn that tire up and lose the grip here. But right now, that gap kind of staying steady here between our leaders here, about a 1 to 2 truck gap between the 13 and 25. But as I say, that 25 getting a really good draft off the 13 and really sucking up to the bumper of the 13, and he is there. But now Mike Mosby going to put the 25 under attack.
Yeah, it almost looked like Zala was trying to get it a little bit too deep and had to really back off a little bit more than he wanted to on the entry into one, which it's a little bit easy to do. You do have to crack off the throttle a decent bit, especially once you start wearing out the tires. This is about that point that they're going to start falling off a decent bit, that just enough that might change the way that you kind of throttle your way through the turns.
We better keep an eye here on this 85 Brad Herman as he's trying to make a pass for third place on Mike Mosby round. Doesn't get the run off of 4 that he wanted, so he's going to get tucked in behind the 99 again and try to get back around him. But this guy has moved up from 15th in a quick amount of time. So Brad Herman, one to keep an eye on, but right now Kyle Wimble putting him under attack.
I think those next level trucks are just on a move right now because he's moved from 15th to 4th. Michael York has gone from 17th to 6th, not far behind him. So we're seeing some big movers through the field. Also have Blair Holloman that's picked up 17 spots up to 7th right now. So some of those guys that managed to miss that big wreck at the start, really seeing that pay off in a big way right now.
Yeah, still only seeing 3 drivers above the cut line, though, in this top 10. So these guys in yellow sitting outside are loving what they are seeing because that gap is not much between those drivers sitting outside and inside the cut. But right now, Jacob Zala going to try and get a good run here off of 2 potentially, get in that draft in the 13, and maybe get a nose to the inside of that quarter panel of the 13 heading into 3. I don't think he's going to be able to do it this time, but definitely trying to set him up.
Seeing a whole wide variety of ways getting through 3 and 4, seeing about 4 different lines really. Doesn't mean that it's 4 different truck lists. Wow, Jacob Zala right up against the wall, getting real loose there on exit of 4. That should scrub off a little bit of that momentum, but you can see all the various ways that these guys are making their way through the turns, and it's not going to be like seam by seam or anything like that, but there's so many different angles, so many different arcs that you can take to get around here, and it all comes down to driver comfort and what they're feeling in that moment and what they're feeling with their tire wear. This track is just so inviting for so many different options to get around. It makes for really good racing.
Yeah, this top 6, top 7 starting to pull away from the rest of the pack and kind of set themselves apart from the rest of the field. I think these are going to be the guys that we're going to see contending for the win here tonight. So we'll see how much they're wanting to mix it up, as I believe they are a little bit over halfway through a fuel run now, coming to lap 15 here this time by. Just took it. And so we'll see who is going to try and maybe make it halfway. I'm not sure, Brand. Do you know the whole fuel run here?
Yeah, halfway is going to be a reach, especially if we don't get a caution the rest of the way until that. You're looking at 25 to 30. I think 30 is a reach under green flag laps. We did have that caution, so we might get to about 30, but I think 32, 33 laps is really pushing it.
Yeah, this is a track, being how big it is, you can lose a lot of time to fresh tires. So if it's a 2-stop strategy here, we could be seeing pit stops here within the next 10 laps or so, and this will really set things up for the rest of the race to see who gets the biggest advantage of those fresh tires. We'll see who stays out, who comes in. But right now, Kyle Wimble trying to make a move on Brad Herman. They get real tight on the exit of 2, able to keep it clean, but now Michael York right on the bumper of the 3, gets him a little loose on exit there. So glad those two didn't get tangled up there, because that could have been really bad for those guys.
Yeah, and that was all momentum coming down the front straightaway that set that up. As Brad Herman was making his way around the 99, it opened that inside lane for Kyle Wimble to really dive that in, and he had a hard time keeping that thing to the inside. Just so much momentum, driving it deep to try to take advantage of that opening. They all did a great job, though, of keeping that clean coming out. Saw that little bit of contact, little bit of looseness for the 3 on exit of 2, but everybody keeping it forward, no harm, no foul.
Yeah, so this top 7, really, I guess top 8 now, is Joseph Dupont starting to join the rest of this pack, really separating themselves over a second on Dom Milkowicz. But there you see another green driver there, the 66, now moving his way into the top 10. So our points leader moving his way up through the field ever so slightly, started 20th tonight. It has moved up 9 positions so far, but a few other big movers to note. That 33 back there racing out of Stryker Motorsports, Brandon, he's moved up from 29th to 9th, so a great night so far for him. And Andrew Harris up from 35th to 13th. always seems to be passing a lot of trucks out there doing the same thing tonight.
And what a run there. 22 spots picked up already. Just unbelievable for Andrew Harris. We're seeing those giant moves up the score sheet for a lot of guys right now. I think there's a handful of drivers, if not maybe closer to 10, that have picked up at least 15 positions here thus far. Unbelievable runs that we're seeing from some guys. But Andrew Harris, biggest mover thus far. And you mentioned a moment ago, Jonathan Byer moving into the top 10. This is his kind of race. If this continues to stretch out in these green flag runs, how often have we said these JBR trucks, their pit strategy when it comes down to green flag racing, as we get side by side for the lead now. Landon Cardulo under attack by Jacob Zala on the outside. Cardulo, another one, by the way. They've made a lot of gains in races by staying out longer than everybody else and just happening to catch those timely cautions.
Yeah, so Jacob Zala getting a good run out of 2. Heading down the backstretch into turn 3 is a drag race, side by side through 3 and 4. Brad Herman trying to figure out where he can stick his nose in this fight to make it a 3-way battle for the lead. But Jacob Zala going to need a little, Don Milk, or as Blair Hallman back there getting into the wall a little bit. But yeah, Jacob Zala may be clear of the 13 this time. He is clear heading into 1. Going to keep up on that high line though.
See if that inside line, a little bit more of an arc for the 13, see if he can build some momentum here coming out. But I think that Brad Herman there in the 85 was just going to be a little bit too close to him to really try to run up the track and build some momentum. So the 85 of Brad Herman to the second position, but Jacob Zala going to start pulling this train here as we're on lap 20.
Yeah, so Brad Herman just moving up through the field. Only one more spot to go for the 85, but going to have his work cut out getting by the 25 of Jacob Zala. So great run to the front for both of these guys. Jacob Zala is your new leader for the Golden State 130. Landon Cardulo going to tuck in third, just ahead of Mike Mosby.
And we're really starting to see now that it's the top 6 that have moved away. So Holloman, who did get into the wall there a couple laps ago, exiting turn 4, kind of falling off. And it looks like Joseph Dupont kind of falling back behind him. He might have been caught behind that 06 truck after that wall contact and lost some of that momentum. So we're down to really the top 6 running by themselves in that straight line right now, all contending for the race lead, as we're probably about 6-7 laps away from seeing these pit stops being needed.
Yeah, I was just about to say, if they're planning on making this a 2-stop race, I wouldn't be surprised to see them within the next 2 to 3 laps just to get that undercut opportunity and gets you to lap 40 to 45 to get you that last pit stop. So we'll see who is going to be the first taker down pit road. Jacob Zala still got a lot of clean track in front of him, but he's going to be coming up on some lap traffic here soon if these green flag runs continue here. And he has quite the battle underway here. Brad Herman really showing some speed. Gets the nose right to the bumper of the 25, but then there's Landon Cardulo just behind him. They are very tight between these top 3 drivers.
And the top 3 really pulling away. Mike Mosby was running way up around the wall, I think trying to find some speed where everybody else wasn't running, and it didn't quite work out for him as he kind of fell back a couple tenths of a second trying that. But these top 3 lined up running real tight together, and you mentioned that undercut and what's possible with it. First lap under full power for Jacob Zala was a 41.76. Last lap was a 43.21. So you're looking at a 1.5 seconds time differential from fresh tires to worn tires.
Yeah, that's big time here, especially at such a big track like Auto Club. We'll see who is the first driver to come down and do that undercut. We see it every week when we get these green flag runs. It's quite the variety of strategies that we have here in the SRN Truck Series, but man, we don't want to get to pit road or pit stops just yet because we have quite a battle up here for the lead. Still keeping an eye on it here. Jacob Zala exiting 2 with just about a half a car length between him and Brad Herman. Yeah, 3 wide here between Kyle Wimble and I believe Michael York and Mike Mosby here. So the battle is for 4th on track here.
And honestly, I think we're to the point that any one of these 3, and this group of 3 or the group of 3 just behind them, this is a good time to say, you know what, I'm going to make this pit stop, get away from this, and just pull away that little bit with those fresh tires, because this is a pretty tight racing for these 3 in each of these groups.
Yeah, I think what we might be seeing, though, is some of these guys maybe think they can get to that spot where they may be able to make it halfway. So I don't know. Otherwise, I feel like we would have been seeing people pit by now. So really holding off on that. But right now, Brad Herman not holding off. I wanted to get a race in for the lead. He is making a move to the outside of Jacob Zala with the help of Cardulo pushing him. 85 is going to get a good run here. Oh, Jacob Zala really tight. Entering turn 3, almost gets into the corner. He does get into the quarter panel of the 85. They both make contact. Landon Cardulo scoots on by. Mike Mosby coming down pit road.
Great save, and that happened right as I was about to mention that Mike Mosby saying he was going to make his pit stop, and he's going to be the first of the leaders to do so. But that contact between Zala and Herman has opened up a decent-sized lead, about a second and a third now, and it looks like Herman and Zala still going at it tough with each other. That might not be a thing that's over just yet.
Yeah, we'll see how it works itself out between these two drivers. As Brad Herman really close to the 25 on the entrance to 3 there. Going to try and get some air on that spoiler to make it a little loose through the turns, but Jacob Zala holding on to it there. It's a little loose, it looked like, on the exit of 4, but not enough for Brad Herman to really make a move. He's going to have to try and get a good draft down this front stretch and maybe make a push for turns 1 and 2. Blair Holloman and Dave Fuge, both out of Zeos Racing, coming down for their first pit stop on the night.
Not a bad time for them to do that. Big winner with that little bit of contact. You can see the gap now between the 25 in second place of Jacob Zala and then Landon Cardulo, who's 2 trucks ahead. It's a second and a third now. That is the gap from first back to second. And then you got to go another 1.3 seconds to go back to fourth place Michael York. So we're starting to spread this out as these pit stops are starting. But it looks like the leaders, aside from Mike Mosby wanting no part of it just now, as we've still only seen 1 or 2 trucks that were inside the top 10 make this pit stop so far.
Andrew Harris coming down pit road this time. It looked like Brad Herman might have gotten to the wall there on the exit of 4. We're not sure if that's the case or not. Got really close. The truck looks clean on the right side, but it looked like he was trying to get all he could and got as close to the wall as he possibly could. But this battle continues here between the 25 and the 85 as they try to run Landon Cardulo back down. That gap's starting to diminish a little bit.
See if any of the leaders make their stop this time, but doesn't appear so for the top 3 at least. So they're really trying to stretch this out as long as they possibly can and really setting themselves up to be potentially caught by that undercut that we're seeing from a few guys. Don Milkowitz just moved into the top 10, or was just inside the top 10, is making a stop. It looked like Michael Madden making a stop. No, he's actually still out on track.
I think we're going to see Landon Cardulo come down this time, but I think I just saw him come over radio and say he is coming to pit road, so we'll keep an eye on that. Could be seeing that 13 Ghirardelli chocolate truck come down for his first pit stop on the night with a 1.1 second gap over second of Jacob Zala. We'll see if the rest of them come down as well.
So first and second come in. That's going to give the bonus point for a lap led for Brad Herman. Got Joseph Dupont, Kyle Wimble making their pit stops side by side. There's Troy Techmeyer coming in from a 13th position. And Brad Herman is going to be the guy getting a bonus point here, and that could be all important in what looks like a tighter and tighter playoff race as we're in the midway point here in this opening round.
Yeah, it's an important point for Brad Herman, but sitting second right now in the standings. And here is why, sitting on first on the track. So definitely got some speed in that 85 at the right time in the playoffs. He's going to be coming down pit road this time as him and Mike Mosby get really close to making contact there. But here comes Michael York, his teammate, as well. And Josh Mueller, Michael Madden, Sean Jensick back there. Pretty much the rest of the field going to come down pit road this time.
It was a valiant effort to try to make it to halfway as we're 30 laps down. Still going to have to go about 3 more laps, though, to feel confident that you might be able to make it. But we did have that caution, so I think you really got to go another 4 laps. Jonathan Byer is the one that's trying it here as he's still out there. Bobby Anderson pitted on that first caution, so he's got a few extra laps here to play with, at least a couple of laps. Byer trying to still stretch this one out, though.
Yeah, and then there's the yellow.
Oh, wow. Well, now my question is, does Byer have enough to get back around?
Oh, that is going to be a tough thing for the 66 to do if he's really pushing it there on fuel. Going to have to shut it off and clutch it to get that 66 back around one more time. But, it doesn't really work out for Jonathan Byer as much as he wanted because he wasn't able to lap the whole field. And those guys are going to be on fresh tires. So still going to work out for Jonathan Byer somewhat, but not as well as he wanted. Single truck incident here with the 71 getting loose on the exit. Might have been coming down pit road this time and just lost the truck. And that's what's going to bring out our second caution of the night.
Actually, just heard him on driver chat saying that he just made that pit stop. So that's cold tires for sure. Just got loose in 3. Was trying to save it and then just looped it at the entry of pit road. One thing I did notice, though, when we were riding on board with Jonathan Byer was I'm pretty sure he was about to make a pit stop because the angle that he had, the pace he was going, I think Byer was about to come in. So a little bit of a close situation there, but he is going to get it around to pit road and make his stop here under power. So he did have enough to pull off that caution lap. If not, he was going to have to enter a closed pit and go to the back of the line.
Yeah, I'm showing 18 trucks on the lead lap, so we'll see what kind of mix we have. Looks like it's just going to be him coming down pit road this time. A few others, Cody Riggs, Bobby Anderson coming down as well. So he's going to be starting about middle of the pack when he comes back out, but going to have fresher tires than everyone else. So it's going to be an interesting run here through the middle portion of this race to see how the 66 is able to work his way back up into the top 10.
And let's look at how this played out, though, with the undercut. Now, Landon Cardulo is still going to be out front. Mike Mosby is going to pick up a couple spots, as he was the first one to make that pit stop among the top 10. And so he's going to move into the second position. Jacob Zala in third. Blair Holloman was an early pitter, as well as Dave Fuge. They will be fourth and fifth. Last one to make a pit stop there, among the leaders at least, under green, was Brad Herman. He's going to fall all the way back to the sixth position.
Yeah, he's going to be back in 6th, but have the freshest tires among those drivers in the field here because, like you said, he just came down pit road. So Mike Mosby going to have his work cut out as he's already got 8 laps on these tires. Next closest is going to be Blair Holloman. He's got 7 laps. So we got a few different strategies playing out on the track, and we're going to see how it all shapes out once they go back to green here in the Golden State 130. But right now, our race leader going to be Landon Cardulo.
And you said as we're about to go back to green here shortly, one thing I'm noticing is how much more green we're seeing on that pylon in the top 10. We went from about 3, maybe 4 drivers inside the top 10 in the playoffs, sitting in the top 10 in the race. We're now up to 7 of them. 4 between 3rd and 6th, then 8th, 9th, and 10th, where we've got Josh Mueller and Michael Madden making their way into the top 10 now.
Yeah, it's funny how it works itself out throughout the course of the race, just a little bit over halfway here tonight, and there you see it. The cream rising to the top here with already 7 drivers above the cut sitting in the top 10, but right now 2 of them sitting outside, sitting atop this race here. Cardulo and Mosby looking to make up every point that they can. I know Mosby is going to be itching to lead a point in that 99 truck and hopefully give him an extra point towards maybe making it inside the green in the playoff standings.
Yeah, there's a couple of people that I think just made a pit stop to top off with 1 lap to go here, so they should be catching back up. And if they did that, that might open the possibility that they could potentially just go super conservative and make it without another pit stop. I think that's a stretch, but it's something that we might need to keep an eye on, some of these guys at the back of the lead lap.
Yeah, so just another element to the excitement that we are seeing unfold here in the Golden State 130. But that pace car is about to peel off, and the chocolate machine up front, the 13 truck of Landon Cardulo, is going to have the field in his hands. He got a great restart the last time. We'll see if he's able to replicate that. And it looks like he is, as he gets a good jump on Mosby and really helps Zala get into the inside of Mosby, going to bring that 25 up to second.
Yeah, the inside paying huge dividends right now on these restarts. We've seen first and third each get great jumps on all of these starts so far. And Landon Cardulo 3 for 3 on just being fantastic when it comes to getting the field back into turn one.
Yeah, the old art of the restart goes a long way, and Landon Cardulo showing them that tonight as he gets a good 2 to 3 truck gap length over second place Jacob Zala. We'll see if Brad Herman's able to work his way back up to the field where he was running before that caution came out in those round of pit stops, up to fifth already as he made a pass on Blair Holloman right there. Going to set his sights on Mike Mosby, that truck out there with the oldest tires on the track. So we'll see just how big a difference it is between speed here.
Big dive to the inside in turn one for Jacob Zala in the 25. He's going to possibly be clear coming out of turn two. He's going to get real tight doing that slide, and he's going to pull it off there. And Landon Cardulo might have just cracked the throttle just a bit, not wanting to get both of them into the wall, but that was real close of a slide job coming out of turn two. And how about the old lucky dog in the playoffs in the 16? Dave Fuchs Jr. sitting in third, taking a look on the inside of Landon Cardulo as well.
Yeah, the 16 has run really well all season, so no surprise seeing him up here mix it up in the top three. Going to have to try and really work to get by the 13 of Landon Cardulo because, like we keep mentioning, he has a lot to race for tonight, trying to make up some points on the rest of the field after a not-so-great Kentucky for the 13. But right now, running really well and not wanting to mix it up too much, like you said, with Jacob Zala. Kind of cut him a break there as he shut the door exiting two a few laps ago. But yeah, Dave Fuchs Jr. running up here in the top three.
Zala starting to inch away just a little bit, maybe be a quarter of a second or so ahead as they get to the stripe this time. And we're well past halfway in this race. It's starting to amp up. You can see the racing not so much going to be single file as it was on that last green flag run. Seeing a lot more 2 wide and occasionally 3 wide here in this lead pack.
And we should mention another playoff driver who's not had the luck of a few guys here tonight. Lucas Lyons only 2 laps down now after that last caution. So still sitting back there in 32nd, but ticking away at these guys and maybe going to get a lucky break if he can catch 2 more cautions and get back on the lead lap. So we'll keep an eye on Lucas Lyons, one of our playoff drivers, having a little trouble here tonight. But right now, really tight pack here in the top 9, only separated by a second here as these guys are all packed up.
This is super tight racing. Looks like we got about 11 drivers all in this lead pack within a second and a half of each other. Big run inside. Landon Cardulo trying to look for the lead. Don't think he's got the run on the inside against that momentum from the outside, but now we got some tandem driving here, and Jonathan Byer has joined the party in the 4th position with those super fresh tires, and he's pushing that 13, trying to get his nose out in front.
Ooh, big wreck here. Just
Hard
thought he was
contact into the
clear. Looked like he thought he was clear of the 16 there. It takes a big hit.
And Dave Fuchs Jr. nowhere to go in that one as he gets collected. You see him up against the outside wall, and he's going to have to tow out. That truck might have been completely killed, and that's going to be a big hit for both of those drivers, Byer and Fuchs, inside the top 10 entering this race, and they have just had a huge hit.
Yeah, it just looked like Byer was trying to carry the speed out of 4, washed up a little bit, and not realizing how close the 16 was there. And they clip bumpers and send each other hard into the wall. Take a look here from Jonathan Byer's perspective this time.
You can see him just washing up with the speed, and oh wow, heavy impact for both of them. Michael York getting some heavy impact as well as he drove straight into the turned 16 truck of Dave Fuchs Jr. So we'll have to see how the front damage is to that 5 truck. But 3 significant impacts here for playoff drivers, all running up front as we got about 25 laps to go. Not a lot of time to make up any of the lost ground that'll come from this one.
And we're going to see a few guys come down pit road here this time. Maybe a few others. I think we're going to see just about the whole field come down pit road. I think to top off that fuel and get them to the end here. So this could be our final spot of the night. 2 cars staying out. Going to be Jacob Zala and Josh Mueller, both tank racing trucks. So a bold strategy there for those two is I'm not sure they're going to have the speed or, the speed of fresh tires, but the fuel to get them there to the end.
I think they might have the fuel. They're really going to be stretching it, though. Mueller came in on lap 31, Zala on lap 30, so we know they can get that far on one caution. This is the second caution in this run. I think they're still going to need a little bit of help to make it the rest of the way. But we're going to see Landon Cardulo come back out, it looks like in the 5th position. Michael York's still out there in 4th, despite having that impact. A little surprised to see him still there. But then we'll have Bruce Amston still out, Josh Mueller still out, and Jacob Zala will be holding on to that lead.
Yeah, it could have been one of those scenarios where Michael York, it all just happened so quick that his truck just didn't register hitting the machine of Dave Hughes Jr. and just kind of drove through it. So maybe the 5 has no damage and is staying out there in 4th.
I'll tell you what. Sorry about that. I pulled up a rear chase camera on that 5 truck. I see no damage to the nose of that 5, so unbelievable. Looks like he's going to get out of that unscathed.
Yeah, sometimes you get a little bit lucky out here on track, but he's going to come down pit road now and get rid of that 4th place standing on the track to maybe get his truck to the end of this race. So not sure exactly why he didn't come down with the rest of the field, but there you go. The 5 going to fall a little bit back here in the pack, which we've seen it start to get a little more dicey in the middle of the pack, so maybe not where he wants to be, but trying to keep an eye here. Not sure if Lucas Lyons was able to get his lap back again that time, maybe just 1 lap down. I'm trying to see these standings over here.
He did not. He's still 2 laps down in 32nd.
All right. Well, not sure why he didn't get it that time. But like we said, we'll keep an eye on all these lucky dogs as we have a few trucks that are multiple laps down. A lot of damaged trucks out there as well. So we'll see exactly how it works itself out. Michael York going to be back in 21st now. So loses 17 positions out there on track. With 24 laps to go, going to have his work cut out for him. See if he can get back up towards the front with his teammate Brad Herman there running in 5th. But about to go back to green flag racing. We'll see how good a restart Jacob Zala is able to get, as this is his first restart on the point here tonight in 1st place. So it's going to have his teammate to his outside of Josh Mueller in the 26. We'll see if they're working together. Bruce Amston, also a tank racing truck. So top 3 going to really try and work together to break away here on this restart.
And huge jump there for Zala in the 25, and doesn't look like anything really got communicated too well, or they just didn't get that jump together. But he's going to open up about a 4-trunk length advantage going into turn 1. Amston and Mueller still side by side, and Landon Cardulo making that. He's the first one to make that pit stop. He comes in the 4th position out of that. He's going to be in a great position going forward.
Yeah, Landon Cardulo already up to 3rd, making a look to the inside of Josh Mueller now, maybe for 2nd here. And these guys might be regretting that choice of staying out on older tires. If this thing stays green to the end, Landon Cardulo could be running away with this because he is starting to put the gap between him and Brad Herman, the next truck, on fresh tires. So Landon Cardulo might be getting away with one here. 22 laps to go. If we keep this thing clean, we'll be seeing that Candyman in victory lane.
Well, one name I'm starting to see move his way back up, actually, is our Michigan winner. And in 9th place, Sean Jensick. We saw him get caught up in that lap 1 incident. He used that fast repair, and he's starting to make his way through the field into the top 10 for the first time since that wreck. And he's obviously got good speed and knows his way around these 2-mile D-shaped ovals. Won at Michigan a couple weeks ago. This might be the time with 22 laps to go. He's got a shot in this thing still.
Yeah, it's got to give him some confidence for all the trucks that he's passed tonight, all the ups and downs, starting 21st, already up to 9th here with 21 to go. We can see if he's able to move up a few more spots. But Landon Cardulo going to the front, passing Jacob Zala on the inside easily with those 9-lap fresher tires on the 13. Landon Cardulo back in front.
Oh, big move there for Bobby Anderson, who's now up to 7th. So another one of the guys that was caught up in that lap 1 incident, all the way up to the 7th position as we saw him dive to the inside. But we got a couple positions back from the new leader, Landon Cardulo. That's where Brad Herman is on the outside, trying to make his way around Josh Mueller. He's going to be the next one on those fresh tires. And then pretty much everybody else behind him, aside from Bruce Amston, is going to be on those fresh tires, making those pit stops. So I just don't know. Those 3 tank racing drivers, I see what they were trying to do. I just think it backfired on them, where so many trucks came in behind, and it just kind of set them up where they're going to be stuck out there trying to conserve and also on older tires.
Yeah, it got really dicey there between Mosby and Amston there, but able to keep it off of each other. Brad Herman now going to look to try and get that 25 a little bit loose through turns 3 and 4, maybe, and able to get a good run on the exit of 4. We'll see if the 85 able to do that this time. I don't think it will be right here, but he is definitely working on trying to get by the 25. And Cardulo is trying to put as much space between him and the 25 and 85 as he can, because that 85 is going to try and get back to the bumper of that 13. He has had a fast truck all night, even though he qualified 15th. So we'll keep an eye on him. But just behind him, want to give a shout out to Josh Mueller in that 26. He started 32nd tonight, running 4th. So that is a great run for one of the guys that is literally on the cut line, tied with Jack Johnson. So this is the run that the 26 needed here tonight for Josh Mueller.
Yeah, that's a big charge through the field, and a little bit of that's going to be on that strategy, but he has been moving his way up since the start of the race as well, so just a great run for that 26. And I just keep looking at that race for second as Herman and Zala, we saw them get together earlier, and it looked like there's a little bit of frustration the way that they were racing each other the lap after that contact. It looks like they've kind of at least forgotten or forgiven at least a little bit, because they've been a little bit patient there, especially Brad Herman, who has those faster tires on it right now, just really taking his time setting up the move. But I think at some point he's going to have to make his way around if he really wants to get a shot at Cardulo before he starts pulling away.
Yeah, he's definitely starting to put a little bit of time on him and Zala, so Brad Herman can't stay behind the 25 for too much longer. But even though it's 17 to go, that sounds like not much time. There is still plenty of time here at Auto Club, as it's a big 2-mile oval. So 40-second laps, that starts to add up. He's still got plenty of time as he takes a look to the inside of Zala. Going to try and clear him this time and start setting his sights on the 13, but the 25 not ready to give it up.
Definitely not. You saw him kind of go a lane or two inside of that outside wall, trying to really cut off any of the momentum that could be built from that inside run, drifting it up. But Brad Herman, still so much freshness in those tires, so much more grip and confidence, easily makes that pass in 3 and 4. And now we got fresh tires sitting in first and second. Jacob Zala now going to try to hold off Mike Mosby, also on fresh tires.
Yeah, it's getting real tight there as the 25 gets really close to the bumper of the 85. Not sure he wants to touch Brad Herman's truck right now. As you said, probably tension's a little high between those two drivers after they got a little contact earlier, but able to keep it clean. But Mike Mosby moves on by the 25 of Jacob Zala. Now Michael Madden is going to be the next one in line to try and pick up a spot here on the 25. So maybe starting to regret staying out there in front of the rest of the field. So Jacob Zala now back to 5th place. Michael Madden going to move up to 6th or 4th, excuse me. But now Bobby Anderson's knocking on the door of the 25.
Yeah, and you saw Zala just get real loose coming out of turn 4 and kind of slide that down, trying to collect it a little bit. It wasn't a huge loose, but it was enough to really scrub that momentum, and he's going to get passed by Bobby Anderson. Now he's got Kyle Wimble to the inside, and now it's going to be about to start that time where it's just going to be a free fall there for the 25.
Yeah, we're seeing these tank trucks that stayed out really start to fall through the field. Josh Mueller back in 10th and Bruce Amston already back in 16th. They started 1, 2, 3 at the beginning of this run, so these older tires really not the way to go for these guys as they continue their fall through the field. Kyle Wimble going to take a peek to the outside of Jacob Zala this time potentially, if Bobby Anderson is able to clear him right here. They're still racing, but now Kyle Wimble going to take it to the inside.
I was just thinking he was setting up for something, and Kyle Wimble is one of the more aggressive drivers out there in his style of getting around the track and making passes. That does not surprise me, seeing him make that dive to go inside 3 wide and take advantage of having that slower truck in the 25 with those older tires being in the middle. Just kind of makes things uncomfortable there for Bobby Anderson on the outside. Wimble took advantage, made a big dive to the inside.
Yeah, and then bringing Jacob or Sean Jensick up there. So Jacob Zala now back to 8th. So the free fall continues there. Mike Mosby here on board running 3rd, but has that 15 truck of Michael Madden edging ever so much closer in that rear view mirror. So and we got a yellow flag out here on the track, our 4th caution of the night, hearing that it's Blair Holloman getting into some trouble.
Oh, wow. Blair in a rough position there as you saw him. That nose all crinkled up. That front end looks pretty impacted there. We'll see what happened to cause all that on our Beer Street Journal Rec Rear replay, where, again, please drink responsibly. And here we go. Blair Holloman going to be in the middle, nearly 3 wide as they make their way into turn 1. He's going to be on the inside of Don Milkowitz in the 33. Holds it up a little bit high, and I'm not too sure that they knew that he was going to be running that high, being the inside truck. Bruce Sampson getting caught a little bit in that one in the follow-through. That just looked like Holloman wanted to run a higher line than I think anybody else was expecting on this outside.
Yeah, we'll take another look here at a different angle, see exactly what happened, but you might be right here. Or maybe it's just that truck on the inside, that pink truck, not sure who that is. Wasn't sure that, let's take another look at it. Wasn't sure if he was clear of Blair Holloman as he kind of just drove down into him a little bit. Netcode didn't help either there.
Yeah, that was the 54 of Jason Kratke that got into the right rear. And, little netcode possibly there. A little bit of a turn down by Kratke, but it was still pretty high line there for Holloman. I don't know about netcode. Might have been just a tiny bit there. But, I think that's just a little bit of uncertainty on where everybody was going to be running their line. But one thing this is going to do is just re-rack it, and everybody's going to come down to pit road, it looks like.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody out there happier to see that yellow come out than the 25 of Jacob Zala, because he was really looking at finishing outside potentially the top 15 if that stayed green, with how much faster these other trucks on fresh tires were. So definitely a welcome sight by the 25 as well as the 26 of Mueller, who was really starting to lose some track position out there as well. But Landon Cardullo going to come home in that first pit stall, see if he's able to get out and first where he was running.
Well, it doesn't look like anybody's going to take a gamble on 2 tires this time. Actually, we might have one. I'm not too sure who that was on the very outside. Kevin Winker, actually. So I'm guessing that the 42 went with 2 tires, as he made a big jump up there, I believe, from the 10th or 11th position up to 2nd. But Landon Cardullo still going to be holding on to that lead on 4 fresh feel goods. Brad Herman going to be lined up behind him. Michael Madden going to be in 4th. Bobby Anderson in 5th.
Well, don't shut the door on Lucas Lyons' hopes yet. Just 11 laps to go, but gets another lap back here, picks up a few more spots, and now just sitting 1 lap down. So if it works out and he maybe gets another caution, that 7 could be back on the lead lap, and then we'll see what he can really do out there, as he has just been behind the 8 ball all night after that first caution.
But one thing I will say, even if he does get stuck that 1 lap down the rest of the way, just big ups for that effort that he's put into this race. Staying out there, that's a frustrating position to be in when you go 2-3 laps down right out of the gate. But he stayed with it, and you can see he's picked up some positions there. He was 34th at one point, so there's 7 points that he's gained thus far just by staying out there and making just turning those laps, staying with it as much as he can. Those 7 points could be gigantic at the end of Indianapolis next week.
Yeah, so we'll see if he's able to pick up any more spots before this thing is all said and done. 10 laps to go on this board. So we'll go back to green with 9 to go in this race. So still plenty of time to see what these guys can do. But, man, we got some heavy hitters up front. And then we got a guy trying to take a home run shot here at the 42. Taking 2 tires, moving himself well into the top 5. Kevin Winker going to see if he can steal a win here tonight. But yeah, I think we're going to have to keep our eyes on that 13 of Cardulo, the 85 of Brad Herman, as well as the 15 of Michael Madden. I think that's going to be our race for the win here once we go back to green.
This is the first time we've seen a leader opt to start on the outside, and I'm wondering if there's a little bit of, he knows how aggressive Brad Herman has been on these early runs and how quick he's been, and that's not a knock on Michael Madden, but I think the 85 has been one of the 3 fastest trucks all night consistently on these runs. So I'm wondering if Landon Cardulo thought, you know what, let me take the outside. I'll give Michael Madden that little bit of an edge going forward, as he's going to have to hold the outside. Cardulo can dive down to the inside, and it might trap both of them in a rough position and give him a little bit of an edge coming out of turn 2.
Well, pace car is off. Landon gets a big jump, and that's going to stack up the inside. Brad Herman with nowhere to go, and he gets a big jump on the rest of the field. Brad Herman going to take a look to the inside of Kevin Winker here to go 3 wide into turn 1. Brad Herman going to try and clear him as quickly as possible, not the position that he wants to be in. I think he's going to pull it off here, and Brad Herman now has second, but a half a second behind Landon Cardulo as they exit 2.
And Winker looked like he got a little bit loose there in 1 and 2, just trying to get the balance on those tires with 2 fresh tires and 2 worn tires on the left side. And I think that actually scrubbed off a little bit of speed there for him and Michael Madden outside of him. And that gave an opening for Kyle Wimble to move into the 3rd position. He's going to slide up pretty tight, but we got Mike Mosby spinning on the inside. He's going to save it into the grass.
We had all kinds of action happening on that turn 4 as we still got people with cold tires out here. And that's exactly what happens. It just kind of snaps on you, and I think that's what the 99 just went through. So a tough break for Mosby. Our driver at the tail of the standings was hoping to get a big run out of that truck tonight to maybe make a push towards the cut line, and it is all for naught now as he almost wrecked that 99 and is now outside the top 20.
Rough break for him, but they stay green, and that's a good break for Landon Cardulo, who's continuing to hold about a 1/3 of a second advantage over Brad Herman. You got to go another 3/10 back to Kyle Wimble, who I think just scraped the wall a little bit. It looked like that might have been him that time by coming out of turn 4. It was somebody around that 3rd position, but everybody's still closing in as that straight line, single file line of trucks really starting to build that momentum and pull its way towards that 13.
Yeah, it's kind of a 3-truck breakaway here between Cardulo, Herman, and Wimble. Michael Madden trying to get in on this fight as well for the win. Those guys kind of getting all in a draft with one another and kind of pulling away from the rest of the pack, but kind of evenly spaced between the 3. So we'll see if Brad Herman is able to utilize that draft and really catch up to the 13. You see Landon trying to get down to the bottom and break that draft, but not going to happen here as you see that deficit getting ever so much smaller between the 13 and the 85 with 6 laps to go.
This is getting tighter and tighter to the end of this race, and the pressure's starting to amp up for these guys, especially guys like Landon Cardulo and Kyle Wimble, who find themselves outside looking in of the next round of the playoffs here in this midway race in the opening round of 3. And Cardulo just trying to do his best to hold off the man with all the momentum after last week's race. The race winner, Brad Herman, really starting to put that pressure on that rear tailgate.
Yeah, obviously Landon wants to win this race to help his cause in the playoffs and get another win sticker on that truck, but he's got to be careful here. The 85 is a fast hot rod, but the Landon Cardulo 13 cannot afford to get himself in any mishaps. We saw his teammate get involved in an incident earlier racing hard. We don't need that to happen with Landon if he is looking to improve his standings, as he was our top seeded driver, our second seeded driver as these playoffs started. Now sitting in 13th, he needs every point he can get. So got to be careful with this 85, but still racing for a win here.
Now, I'll tell you who might be in the best position right now is Kyle Wimble in that 3 truck, because he's sitting there just kind of watching everything happen. He's still very close enough to get a big run from that draft. As we come down to 3 laps to go, it's going to be 4 laps to go. That's going to be a good position there for that 3 of Wimble.
Yeah, so these guys continue to pull away from the rest of the field. And now we see Kyle Wimble start to pull up to the behind Brad Herman. Maybe going to have a battle here for second, which is going to be definitely a welcome sight for that 13 of Landon Cardulo. But just as I say that, Brad Herman gets a big run down the backstretch and closes back in on the 13. So we'll see if he's able to get the run he needs to get that 85 by the 13. But right now, we talked about it at the beginning of the show, Landon Cardullo just had a blistering qualifying lap. We know he has the fastest truck out there. Just going to have to put it out there and put it on the scoreboard now, bring it home.
And the interesting thing is, yes, you have teammates first and third, but they're both sitting on the outside. So, yes, you could almost say, hey, Wimble could pull side by side with Brad Herman and kind of eat some of that speed away from those two. But if he does that, he leaves himself susceptible and leaves Herman susceptible as well to Michael Madden, who's still within a second. And then if they slow up even more, then you get the rest of the field still within striking distance here in the last 3 laps. So you can't really help out your teammate too much in this position.
Coming to the stripe this time to take 2 laps to go in the Golden State 130. And Michael Madden just trying ever so slightly to get up here with these guys and try and mix it up for a win potentially, but I'm just not sure he has that draft that he needs to catch the 3 of Kyle Wimble. So we'll see if Michael Madden is able to get there in time, but I don't believe so. Sean Jensick now up to 5th, so a heck of a run for him to get back into the top 5. But right now, all eyes on the 13 of Landon Cardullo as he rounds turns 3 and 4, coming to the stripe to take 1 to go this time by.
And we're seeing a lot of trucks start getting sorted out single file. There might be a lot of guys, especially those ones in green, that are sitting there saying, you know what, big picture racing, I'm happy with where I am tonight.
Yeah, so final lap out there on the track. Next flag ends it, whether it's a caution or the checkered flag. It is heating up out there as Brad Herman and Kyle Wimble both going to try and get everything they can out of their trucks to see if they can cut away with a win. Kyle Wimble still looking to get his first win on the season in that 3 truck, but I don't think he's going to be there. It's going to be between the 85 and the 13. We'll see if he's able to get a good enough run to get side by side with the 13, but I don't think it's going to happen. Landon Cardullo comes off of turn 4 and will win it tonight at Auto Club. A big win for the 13, just what the doctor ordered.
Had one going through the grass there coming out of turn 4. That was Jacob Zala, who's going to drop a couple spots in the process of that. I'm not sure how that one happened. But, yeah, Landon Cardullo, big win there for a driver just outside that cut line coming into tonight's race. And he's going to set himself up in a good position going forward to Indy, as will Kyle Wimble, who was not far off either, just outside the top 10. So both those JBR trucks, really good night. But their team leader, Jonathan Byer, Dave Fuge, they're going to be sitting outside the top 30 and really feeling the effects of this race and the points. And this is going to get real tight around that cut line going to Indy next week.
Yeah, I think it's going to make the whole field really tight. When you have your first place contender finishing 34th, that is a big difference. So it is definitely going to make things interesting once we get out to Indianapolis. But before that, we got to do some celebrating here tonight at Auto Club for the 13 machine. We saw the fireworks going off. It is celebrating time for that Ghirardelli Chocolates Toyota Tundra.
It was definitely a sweet race there for the 13. Landon Cardullo getting those donuts in. Donuts not quite candy, but they're still very, very sweet in their own right as we get the rest of the team that's still out there running in on the celebration as well.
Let's go ahead and give you your race results here. The top 20. Landon Cardullo coming home in first. Brad Herman going to be the runner-up tonight. Kyle Wimble rounding out our podium positions. Michael Madden going to come home in 4th. And Sean Jensick, a tough race, but coming back home in 5th. So a great run by him tonight.
Another driver caught up in that lap 1 wreck, but rebounding very nicely. Bobby Anderson going to finish in the 6th spot. Jacob Zala gets the benefit of that caution, gets him reset on strategy with everybody else for a 7th. Josh Mueller with a strong run in 8th. Andrew Harris, big charge through the field, will be in 9th. And Don Milkowitz out of Stryker Motorsports will round out the top 10.
Michael York going to come home in 11th. Blair Holloman going to come home in 12th. A good run for Cody Riggs tonight, coming home in 13th for Rev Racing. Joseph Dupont, 14th, and Jack Johnson coming home in 15th.
Kevin Winker will be in the 16th position. Bradley Rivers will be in 17th. AJ Pritchett will be the 18th finisher. 19th will be Jason Kratke, and rounding out the top 20 will be Troy Techmeyer.
Let's go ahead and see if we can get this round of interviews kicked off with Kyle Wimble coming home in third. Kyle, it's Greg Olenek and Brandon Domain up in the booth. Congrats on the third place, man, sitting outside of the cut currently, but I have to imagine this is going to help your cause getting inside the top 10. Tell us how you're feeling after that run.
Man, it feels good to bounce back after a mishap last week, so definitely will take a third place finish, and seeing a teammate win is always good too.
Yeah, a strong night really for the team. You know, you had the top 3 for y'all all inside that top 15 here in the race tonight. One race left in the round for y'all in the trucks as you go to Indy next week. How do you feel about that one closing out this opening round?
Man, that's going to be an interesting one for me. I haven't never ran it in the truck, so I just picture every turn's going to be a tunnel turn from Pocono. So we're going to have to put in some practice this week, that's for sure.
I have no doubt that you guys will get the practice in heading into Indianapolis. But before we let you go and celebrate with your teammates, man, you got any friends, any family, any sponsors you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the JBR team as always, and friends, family, of course, and everybody that tunes into the broadcast, and Glitch Energy on the truck for the rest of the season, probably next season as well. Use code JBR10 at checkout. Some pretty good stuff, but other than that, yeah, just on to next week.
Yeah, great run for the sponsor tonight. Great looking truck for Glitch Energy as well. So we look forward to seeing you out there next week, and congrats on the third place finish again.
Hey, appreciate y'all.
All right, that was Kyle Wimble bringing it home in third place tonight. Let's see if I can go ahead and find Brad Herman, bring him up to the booth here. Brad, it's Greg Olenek and Brandon Domain up in the booth. Congrats on the second place finish tonight. Tell us how you're feeling as your playoffs are looking really good here.
Feel like I came up one position short, but everybody up front was running pretty fast. It was just hard to get away from the draft. Feel like I had the long run truck, but never really got to that point, and just couldn't get away from people tonight.
Hey, not much more that can go better than a first and a second to start the playoffs, and it looks like you will be the points leader going into Indianapolis, and probably in a very good position as well towards that cut line. But how do you feel about Indy next week as we close out this opening round?
I have to say I've never raced a truck there, but last time I've raced there I did pretty decent, so hopefully we can keep this streak alive.
Well, we definitely expect to see you running up towards the front next week, as that 85 has been really fast lately. But before we let you go and send you back to celebrate with your teammates, you got any friends, any family, any sponsors you want to give a shout out to?
Next Level Motorsports, TJ's team, Michael Kinsley for the paint, you guys in the booth, Trip, and everybody the admins who make it go round.
All right, man. Well, we certainly appreciate that. And you putting a good show out there helps us get it going on here on Speed Racing Network. So we appreciate you, Brad. Congrats on the second place finish, and go have fun celebrating it tonight with your teammates.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, well, that was Brad Herman bringing it home second tonight. So a great run by the 85, and you mentioned he might be our points leader after tonight. But let's go ahead and bring up the man of the hour. That's the Candy Man, as I like to call him. Landon Cardullo brings it home in first place. Landon, congrats on the win. Tell us how you're feeling after that one. You really needed it for your playoff hopes here.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun race. Probably one of the funnest ones I've had in a while. Race was clean. Guys raced around me. I raced around them pretty clean. It was nice. Truck felt really good. But like you said, I really needed that. Last week we were doing good, learned how to save tires, and then got a speeding penalty. And that put me 2 laps down, and then ended up getting another speeding penalty. So just wasn't my week last week, but I'm glad to rebound and get this win tonight.
Well, and one thing that's kind of interesting to me is, you've been out in front with your teammate Jonathan Byer for most of the season. This is really the first time we've kind of seen you in this pressure position when it comes to a point spot. Do you feel that there's some kind of good takeaway that you can get from being in that position tonight, where you had to really kind of push to get back into that race?
There definitely is. Last week after the points got released, I definitely was hitting myself in the head over that. Definitely kind of depressing to see, all that hard work and then you're below the cut line. So we got a strong team. A lot of hard work goes into this team week in, week out. So it's just feedback. These guys are great at giving feedback, and I just learn off of them, and it helps me strive.
Well, congrats on the win tonight. A strong run out there in the 13 machine. Looked cool too with the chocolate dripping off the side. So got a lot of airtime for that 13. But before we let you go here, you got any friends, any sponsors, any family you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I want to thank my friends, family, my grandparents, my aunt. They're all watching tonight. Want to thank Girardelli for coming on board. Their primary sponsor for the rest of the season. They've been great. Glitch is another big one for us, and the whole JBR team. And I also want to give a shout out to Bobby Anderson. I know he's been having some troubles this week with his mom, and I just want to give my condolences to him and pray everything gets better with her.
I'm sure he appreciates that, man. So congratulations again on another win here this season in SRN, but we'll send you back down to celebrate with your teammates tonight. So congrats again, and have a good night, man.
Thank you, guys.
All right, well, that was our winner here tonight. Here are the updated playoff standings after our race here at Auto Club. And like you said, Brad Herman going to have a nice little cushion over him and Jacob Zala, 13 points to be exact. But there you see it. Jonathan Byer came into this race in first, now sitting on that cut line, just 1 point ahead of Josh Mueller.
And the thing that catches my eye aside from that is third place down to 11th is separated by just 9 points. And Indy is not the easiest place to get around. So that's going to be a very touchy race for those guys sitting there that are flirting with danger. I mean, you're looking at Landon Cardulo, who won this week. He is not any safe, sitting just 9 points clear. This is going to be a wild one in Indy with a whole lot of pressure on these guys on a track where you got to be focused from start to finish. You can't lose that focus or you're going to find yourself in the wall hard.
Yeah, and you heard Brad Herman mention in his interview that he's never run a truck there. So I think that's going to be the case for a lot of these guys. So, you know, nobody can let their guard down anywhere on this standing sheet. And even I would even say Brad Herman, just because we saw today that Jonathan Byer finished 34th. So anything can happen any given week. So there you see it on your screen. Next week, we'll be out there in Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Hoosier 110, and it is going to be quite a race. And I just realized that as I'm looking at it on my screen, that's on my 32nd birthday. So, Sean, I expect a little bit of extra pay that day.
We'll either do that or we'll find some way to do virtual candles or something like that for you. But yeah, that race, and you know, Kyle Wimble mentioned it, Brad Herman mentioned it. They have not raced a truck at Indy, and that's not unexpected because they don't run the trucks at Indy in real life. So you don't see the official races, and we haven't had the trucks run Indy here in SRN. So there's going to be a lot of guys that are taking on that challenge for the first time. That's going to make that real interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting with it being a cutoff race, but we have a cutoff race tomorrow in the Xfinity Series. That's week 3 action of the round of 15 for the Golden State 150 right back here at Auto Club Speedway. That's tomorrow, October 28th. Catch it at 8:30 p.m. Central Time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and yeah, it's going to be quite an exciting show as we're going to cut that field down from 15 to 10.
Yeah, and there is not really anybody that's too safe aside from Jordan Bain when it comes to that one. He's locked in, but, I mean, you're looking at everybody that's on the outside all well within striking distance of moving in. I know that you're in one of those positions that's close to that cut line right now, so there's going to be a whole lot of opportunity, I think, for everybody out there, but how are you feeling about that tomorrow?
We'll see. I'm not too confident as I've never been too great at Auto Club, but we'll get out there and give it our best and see if we can move on to the round of 10. But that's going to do it for us tonight here on Speed Racing Network. As always, thank you for joining us. Please like the channel, subscribe to the channel so you know when we go live. You can catch all these races right back here. But that is going to do it. Like I said, as always, for myself, Brandon Domain, and our producer, Sean Griffith, we wish you a good night and always go faster.